4 days before my wedding, I discovered my fiancé had been hiding something from me. The worst part? It wasn't another woman. It was my own sister. I didn't scream. I didn't cancel the wedding. I smiled, finished planning the biggest day of my life, and rewrote one speech that neither of them has ever forgotten. By the end of that reception, they both knew I had uncovered everything. But no one else in the room had a clue. Call me the bride. That's all I thought I was about to become. For 14 months, everyone told us we were the perfect couple. Daniel was the kind of man parents adored. Friendly. Funny. Reliable. The last person anyone would suspect. Even my younger sister, Emily, couldn't stop talking about how lucky I was. 3 days before the wedding, my laptop died while I was finalizing the seating chart. So I borrowed Daniel's. If that battery hadn't failed, I probably would have married him. His email was already open. I wasn't snooping. I just needed Microsoft Word. Then I noticed a notification from an app I'd never seen before. It was hidden inside a folder called Fantasy Football. Funny. Daniel hated football. Curiosity won. 1 click. That was all it took. 6 months of conversations. Thousands of messages. Morning texts. Late-night confessions. Inside jokes. Flirting. Emotional intimacy. Plans. Dreams. The contact name simply read. My stomach dropped. My sister's name is Emily. At first, I kept telling myself there had to be another explanation. Then I kept reading. And every excuse disappeared. People think betrayal feels explosive. It doesn't. Sometimes, it feels like absolute silence. My hands weren't shaking. I wasn't crying. I just stopped feeling anything. I read every single message. Not because I wanted to. Because once you've seen the truth, you can't look away. The messages never clearly admitted they had slept together. But honestly, that no longer mattered. What they had built wasn't one mistake. It was an entire relationship. While I was choosing flowers, they were creating memories. While I was tasting wedding cake, they were sharing private jokes. One message mentioned their accidental trip to visit Aunt Carol back in March. I remembered that weekend. I couldn't go because of work. They both insisted it was a coincidence. It wasn't. Then another memory hit me. Just 2 weeks before the wedding, Emily cried while helping me try on my dress. She hugged me tightly and whispered, "You look so happy. I hope I find a love like this someday." Now I finally understood why she cried. It wasn't happiness. It was guilt. I closed the laptop. I didn't call Daniel. I didn't call Emily. Instead, I opened a blank document. Everyone expects me to say I canceled the wedding. I didn't. Not because I forgave them. Because I refused to let them rewrite my story. Emily was my maid of honor. She already had her speech prepared. Funny stories. Childhood memories. Everything a loving sister would normally say. I also had a toast ready. Until that afternoon. Then I deleted every word. I wrote something new. Something that sounded beautiful to everyone else, but terrifying to only 2 people. Every sentence carried a hidden message. A joke about Daniel always checking his phone. A thank you for his love of family. A mention of Aunt Carol's surprise March visitors. A heartfelt appreciation to Emily, for always being there when I couldn't. Nothing was false. Nothing sounded suspicious. But every line whispered the same message. I know. The wedding happened exactly as planned. I walked down the aisle. I smiled for every photo. I said my vows. Oddly enough, I meant every word. Because I wasn't saying goodbye to the man standing beside me. I was saying goodbye to the man I believed he had been. Then came the reception. The room was glowing. Champagne glasses. Laughter. Music. 200 people celebrating a marriage that had already died. I stood first. Microphone in hand. I thanked our parents, friends, family. Then I turned toward Emily. Thank you for standing beside me through everything this past year. Her smile froze. Just for a second. Then came the fantasy football joke. Everyone laughed. Except Daniel. His laugh arrived just a little too late. Then I thanked everyone who had made time for family. Especially those unexpected trips to Aunt Carol's this March. I lifted my glass toward Emily. She couldn't even meet my eyes. Daniel had gone completely pale. No one else noticed. To everyone else, it was just another wedding toast. To them, every sentence felt like another door quietly closing. Neither of them interrupted. Neither of them confessed. They simply sat there, knowing the secret was no longer theirs alone. People always ask the same question. Why didn't you expose them? Because revenge wasn't my goal. Closure was. We never made it through the honeymoon. 6 weeks later, I filed for divorce. Daniel never mentioned the speech. Emily never mentioned it either. They didn't have to. They knew. My sister and I haven't spoken since. Not because we had one huge argument. Because some betrayals don't end with shouting. They end with silence. Sometimes I wonder whether they expected me to scream. Maybe they wanted a dramatic scene. Instead, I gave them something much harder to live with. The certainty that every smile they saw that day was from someone who already knew. And still stayed in control. Some people believe revenge has to be loud. I've learned the quiet kind echoes much longer. If this story gave you chills, let me know in the comments. What would you have done if you were in my position? And if you enjoy true-style Reddit stories with shocking twists, subscribe to Reddit After Dark. You never know what tomorrow night's confession will reveal.